Lots of people on the WhatsApp group saying they're going to be late. That's fine. I'm sure they will be fine just joining when they can. We are. Okay, great. So that's 2 minutes past, so I think that we can make a start. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to all those joining today, and everybody who's watching this a little bit later as part of week 6 of the online course where this video will go up. This is our second Hangout with a Scientist as part of the 2025 Access Habitable Planet online course. As many of you will know, my name's Dr. Carl. I work at Access here in a rather chilly and strangely wintry Cape Town today. And yeah, it's absolutely my pleasure to be hosting this, the second of our Hangout with the Scientists. I was unfortunately unable to do the first one, so it's my first time this year. I am hoping, therefore, to make up for not being here last time and make it twice as exciting as it normally would be. And to help with it being even more exciting than a normal Hangout with the Scientist, we have two absolutely fabulous Planeteers, core lecturers here today who you all know from the online course, who will be answering your questions. We have Lola. Do you want to give us a wave, Lola? And Noxolo. Give us a wave, Noxolo. Great. Before I come to them, just to think a little bit about you. The Hangout with a Scientist is meant to be our interactive part of the workshop. It is your chance to put questions to the people that you see speaking on the online videos. So although I will be here to lead proceedings and in order to try and start the conversations, it's really a conversation we'd like to have with you. It's about getting you guys involved, listening to your questions. And I want to say your questions can be about anything, as mine will. I mean, obviously, we need to keep them PG-13, but beyond that requirement, your questions can be about anything. Things from the videos, things about how the course works, what access is. You can ask me questions if you'd like to on that one, how people got involved, what they do in their spare time. Really, we're just here for an interesting chat with the scientists from our online events. Great. So with that said, please get those questions ready. Be ready to raise your hand. You can also type questions in the chat. But guys, I'd really love you to raise your hand and speak. It's really nicer for the panelists and for me to actually hear a question, and also for me, because if you type one in the chat, I have to read it out, and then that's just more work for me. Because if you guys could speak, it will be less of me speaking, and there's always too much of me speaking at Habitable Planet events. No, Lola, you didn't have to nod along like that, agreeing with too much of me speaking. Great. So with on that note of too much of me speaking, let's start bringing in our fabulous panelists today. To get us going with some questions with today's panelists, what we're going to do is just start with some questions not specifically about the science, but getting to know a bit more of them. So you'll know Lola here from her talk on amazing water. And so firstly, Lola, what I'd like to ask you to tell the Planeteers about is just a little bit about how did you get involved in Habitable Planet? And then after that, why did you end up doing the water talk, right? What is it? What brought you to the process of becoming the amazing water core lecturer?
Hi, everyone. As you've heard, my name is Lola. My journey with Habitable Planet started 2022. Started with this setting, an online course, but unfortunately I didn't get in. Because my kids went through. But then I tried again the following year, whereby I got admitted. I wrote an essay talking about Joburg, because I'm originally from Joburg, telling them about the culture, the geology, the climate, and what makes up Joburg as like what makes it special. And then I got accepted and went to UKZN, or the habitable planet that was happening in KZN. And ever since then, it's been cruising. And what was the other question, Dr. Carl?
How did you end up doing water? What appealed to you about the water talk? Or did it? Or did I
Oh.
just assign you it? Why? What's the story there?
So what happened is that when I went to KZN, there was this other girl who was doing her talk. Her name was Jessica. The way that she brought everything together and intertwined, like I wasn't much, like I did water, I worked with water for my honors, right? But the minute that she stepped up and I was like, oh, so that's where everything is, because the only thing that I did was to actually get the measurements of the minerals, what if there's pollution in water and stuff like that. But the minute that she went deeper by going from the basics as water, as and from the molecule, it was so interesting. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to inspire someone to actually like water, not just because it's, something that we see every day, but as an aspect of an atom and going deeper into that. So I think that's where it all started.
What's your academic background? What did you study?
I studied zoology, studied biodiversity conservation biology at the University of Western Cape, and then moved to Limpopo UL to do zoology. And currently, I'm still studying, fighting for my life,
Uh,
doing conservation ecology.
So that's really interesting. And I really love that the water talk appealed to you, coming from a very different background from the first person who actually developed that talk for Habitable Planet. Do you know who the first core lecturer for water was?
I do. Because
So
he wouldn't keep quiet that it was him.
okay, so for the benefit of everybody else, the water talk was actually my talk at the first ever Habitable Planet when I was a core lecturer, and but actually it goes back further than that because I studied chemistry, and that understanding of how the chemistry of the water molecule like actually comes together to create all of these unique properties was something I gave a presentation on as an undergrad, so that when we came to the Habitable Planet workshop and we were looking at all these important things, people looked at me and were like, "You're the chemist. What's an exciting story about how the chemistry of the planet, the chemistry makes?" And I was like, "Ah, I actually had this talk that I gave at undergrad on why water's so special," and so brought that in, and then it's been there ever since. And that's yeah, it's really interesting to see. So you actively chose it. You were like Jessica, and that's sorry. The other part of your story that's great is that Jessica really inspired it, right? And so it was another core lecturer, and hopefully there's people in the audience here who will have been inspired by your core lecturer. Hopefully, iPlaneteers, that you might one day come and be a water core lecturer, maybe from a different discipline, would be interesting. So you actively picked it. That was your choice. It wasn't me telling you to do it.
Do you want me to be honest, Dr. Carl?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I did choose it.
Excellent. Great. So, you chose the water. That's what we all know you from, and from your science. But I want to ask, sort of getting a little bit of more of a picture of who Lola is. So, what do you think if you hadn't have gone to be a scientist and hadn't gone to study this? What do you think you would have been?
Ooh. With everything that is happening, I'd probably be a chef. Like, that's one thing I'd say. I'd probably be a chef in some restaurant somewhere in the Eastern Cape for some reason. Um, yeah, that's what I'd probably be doing.
Okay, so can you cook?
I like to think I can.
Do we have any like sort of empirical evidence of this?
Yes, because there are other people that have been like, can you please come through and cook for us and stuff like that. So yeah,
Reasonable. Well, if you're not just doing the water talk, we're maybe at a habitable planet. If we need someone to do the catering, we know who to pick on next time. That's interesting. Um, so then, in terms of other stuff that you like doing, if let's say that we invented 26 hours in a day, and so you've got an extra 2 hours every day that you could dedicate to something that's not work, what would you be doing?
I'd be sleeping.
Sleeping. Reasonable. I think we can all empathize with that. Guys, I've got one more question for Lola before we're going to move on to meeting Knox. But if you have any questions that you want to add, please, before we move on to Knox, let's have some hands. Do throw them up if there's anything. This is your chance for general questions to Lola, or the first big chance. So lastly then, before we think about move on to Knox, Lola, do you have any sort of skills or hobbies that would surprise the Planeteers if they knew about them?
I can paint.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
and yeah, I can paint. I can sketch and paint. I think, yeah, that's one thing that I could say surprising about me.
What do you paint?
Um, Nature and people.
Uh, okay, that's interesting. And where can we find your work? Is it online?
In my office, like I just paint and just put it there.
Mm-hmm. And okay, that's interesting. So I'm going to move on to Nox. Noxolo, you are famous for the Planeteers for the paleo climate talk, going back with deep time and dating. So can you tell us a little bit, how did you end up there? How did you get into Habitable Planet and why paleoclimate?
Okay, hi Planeteers. I try to have my hair the same as what it looks like in the video so that you can recognize me. Um, but I also did the online course back in 2023. I don't know how. I think so. Usually when I cannot sleep, I just scroll through social media, but I have like sort of two profiles, one that is just laughs, ha-has, then another one that's quite serious, professional one. So I think I might have seen the ad there for the online course. Then I signed up. Fortunately, did well enough to be invited to the workshop in December, which was held in the University of Pretoria. Yes, tax. Then, yeah, I think when I was doing the online course, the paleoclimate core lecture for that year was one of the ones that I could easily understand. So I had, like, for the other ones, when I was doing the assignments, I didn't have to go back a lot of times with the paleoclimate core lecture. So I think I enjoyed it from that sort of lens. But I think when I was doing the picking, now when it came to being a core lecture, I don't think I picked it. I think I went for probably sustainable development. Mainly because it's appealing to me, and maybe a year or so ago, I also did another separate course on sustainable development. So I felt like maybe this is something that I could do. So you, Dr. Carr, actually assigned me the paleoclimate course.
And
But
aren't you glad I did?
I am. I was just about to say that it ended up working quite well. I enjoyed it, although at the beginning I was quite frightened because I was like, yo, that's to build on from the other collectors that have done paleoclimate, those are big, big steps. But it's been great, great help when we're doing the training, a lot of inputs from the other collectors as well, and the other planeteers. So yeah, it ended up working quite well. Now, given the chance, I'd probably pick it now.
Yeah, exciting. I think it's a really good core lecture. Yeah, so I'm totally with you. You guys, both of you, in fact, those are really, really interesting core lectures that I think really build a lot on the Habitable Planet story and bring in things that people don't often think about in other disciplines. I think, yeah, both of those talks really, really interesting. And obviously, both of them involve some chemistry. So that's great. Lola a lot, but Nox quite a bit here and there. So yeah, you picked good talks, or I picked for you. Whichever way, you ended up with the good ones. That's what matters. So we heard about Lola's painting. What about you, Noxolo? No, Lola, do you have any surprising hobbies, skills? What would you want to tell the Planeteers that will
Oh,
surprise
okay. It might be surprising, but I run actually. So
them?
it started off as just park runs, but then I've now done two or three half marathons. So I'm like picking up pace and adding up my mileage. So that could be surprising. But for those who other Planeteers that we've done runs with, then they might be like, nah, that's not surprising. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
I enjoy it. Yeah.
The half marathon is the longest you've done.
Yes.
That is a long way. How far is a half marathon?
21 kilometers.
That is a long way, and you think you enjoy it. Like that's really good. This kind of qualified. Well, surely you know if you enjoy it or not. I mean, it sounds
Yes.
terrible to me.
It is. It's the first maybe 2-3 kilometers you are regretting. You don't even know why. You even paid, like you don't know why you paid to experience pain. And then you get other people. If you are very active on social media, there's this guy who does very inspirational talks while he's running. So you meet people like that on the road, then you enjoy it, then you stack yourself up. Then before you know it, maybe you're probably left with 2 or 3 kilometers. So you just finish it off. But it's, yeah.
I think the most I've done is 10, and that was enough, I'm afraid. No, that's yes, that's hard work. That's really impressive. Why do you think people will be surprised by that?
Because I don't, people who run, it's like, no offense, but like vegans, Dr. Carr, you don't have to ask them. Like it just comes across. And they're very competitive. So I'm not necessarily competitive, but I enjoy sports. So I don't think I come across as very competitive. So maybe that's why I think it might be surprising.
Okay, reasonable. And you also read.
Yes.
Can you tell us about something that you've read?
It sometimes like I'll go through those mind blocks where you just enjoy buying books more than reading them. But the saving grace is that I buy secondhand, so it doesn't cost me an arm and a leg. I can get books as cheap as £5. But I enjoy reading a lot. It's like an escape, mind escape. I try not to watch a lot of TV. So I use books as my entertainment. And the last book that I read that I found it very interesting, like is Finding Me by Viola Davis. How to Get Away with Murder, that lady. I think what I enjoyed most from that book is how raw she is. Sometimes we present ourselves a different way, and there's parts of you that you might not necessarily like about yourself, so you keep those to yourself. You don't share with other people. But in that book, she goes all out. At some point, you read it and you get like secondhand embarrassment, but she doesn't. So I think that sort of rawness from her is something that I hope to get to one day in my life, because I think it would revive and some of the relationships that I have and just make me an overall better, more genuine person.
Okay, interesting. Planeteers, once again, questions, put hands up, throw questions in the chat. This really is your chance to ask questions of Lola and Noxolo. I can ask all day, right? But that's not the point. I could ask them anytime. We've got a couple already. Great. I will do these in order. The first question is T. Mankwele. Go ahead, T.
Hi, Planeteers. My name is Utandega Mangele. I'm a town planner. So my question has to do with, you said, I saw in the group that you said we will get like certificates after the course. And then I just want to find out, to get the certificate, you need to pass by 50%, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
That was easily done, but great. Thank you for the question. That's exactly why we're here. Great. So second in line, we have Kemoho. Kemoa, please help me out. How do you say that? Camo.
Hi, Planeteers. My name is Gamu Hao. I'm a
How? Thank you.
grade 9 student. I wanted to ask Noxolo, what type of genres do you normally read?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
The question is what genres? What genres do you normally read?
Oh, so I do mainly I love biographies, but it has to be like African. Yeah, mostly African. So I do your greats, so your Chinua. There's this guy who wrote the book, The Memoirs of a Porcupine. That's like eerie, but I enjoyed it a great deal. Then I'll do your No Violet Bulawayo, the I forgot her name now. The lady who wrote the Zim lady. Sorry, her name has escaped me. But yeah, I mean I need to. So normally I would do those ones, and then thank you. Thanks. Then I will do a bit of fiction. Viola Davis, I did it via there's an audio book. So someone had gave me subscription to an audio book. So I was like, okay, it has won a Grammy, so let me try those ones out. But yeah, mainly African biographies and fiction. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Nice. Thanks, Nox. If you have follow-up questions, do feel free to put your hand up again, put them in the chat. That's fine. But for now, we'll move on to Nshla Kanipo.
Thank you. Hi, guys. My question is for Lola. Right. So when she started, she said that like she couldn't get in first, and then she made a remark about others getting in because they were smart. So I don't know why she doesn't think she's smart, but then my question is basically what the selection process is like, and why did she feel the need again to try again the second time around, and what basically prompted her to want to be part of the team.
Thank you so much. So with the second one, right, we have this one whereby they select via marks. So the second one, they select via, what is this, essays, to try to see if what you say makes sense in terms of what is like requested of you. So one thing about me is that if I start something, I want to finish it. And I was like, if I didn't get in the first time, there must have been something. I should work on that. But luckily, I did get in the second time. And I wanted to be able to be part of the habitable planet because also my cousin was like, we went here and there and we did that and that. And I was like, oh, so this is some of the things that I studied. I know them more on theory, but it would have been nice if I could actually get like to be like part of it, like experience them like live. And I actually got to do that. I hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Lola. That's really nice to hear. I guess so. The word of mouth was really important. That you knew someone who'd been on the course, so you knew that you'd get to do all these things. And yeah, to reiterate, for the online course, the main way to get in is through your mark in the online exercises. We do non-online courses June and July each year, and for those, you write a motivation letter is one of the main ways to get in, which is what Lola's talking about. These are all great questions, so really happy. Keep putting those hands up and we will keep taking them. And with that in mind, Tiani, you are up.
Hi, my question is for the lovely co-lecturers. Have you guys used what you learned in your academics? So maybe like your honors or your masters and stuff.
So the question is, have you used what you learned at Habitable Planet? Right, we missed that. Is that right, Tiani?
Yes. So because most of the things that they're learning, Lolo, I think one of you guys mentioned that you're also studying something in the sciences and stuff like that. So I wanted to know how translatable is it in your academics, and if you guys have used that, because I'm not in this, I'm more in the humanities, but I feel like it'll be interesting to sort of use that in my academics and stuff.
Nice. Okay, I'll put that to Lola first, as you're just first on the list for things.
Okay. So the other parts for habitable planets are biodiversity and they have sustainability, which are the two that I'm naming because I use them a lot. Because my course currently is looking at biodiversity, trying to interlink certain things. And whilst you're interlinking those certain things, you have to look at what is happening, right? In terms of like the human what are we doing in terms of industrialization and stuff like that. So it actually impacted me a lot because I could actually translate that when I was writing my thesis because I'm using real life examples, certain things that I know that okay, I saw here and there because they use also real life examples in terms of explaining what is going on. So yeah, I did use what I learned.
Okay, and Nox, you're muted. Lola, Nox, there's no need to mute. There's only the three of us, and yeah, it can only cause problems when there's just the three of us. You can leave your mics on.
Okay. Maybe I'll start off by like the soft side of things, like how it's relatable at work. People at work would say like well-spoken, I speak well, but I think those are things that have had to cultivate, and being part of this workshop has enhanced those skills immensely just from interacting with other people, other planeteers when you're attending your workshop. For those of you who go on to even do the leadership training, you get so much skill set on the interpersonal side that maybe when you started out, when you're signing up, it's not the thing that you think is at the forefront. So it has helped a lot in how I communicate some of the complex science to people in the room who might not necessarily understand or do what I'm doing. And then in terms of the work that I do, I did climate studies, modular and climate studies when I was still in university, like millennia ago. So when I did the Habitable Planet workshop, it was sort of like a refresher, but with more content to it because time has changed since then, and there's more research and there's more things to consider. And with the studies, well, mine, there's not much focus on the South African context. So with the HPW stuff, the nice thing is that you always get that perspective from here's the science, but what does it mean for South Africa? Or how does it relate within the South African context, which I think now makes you feel like you can contribute meaningfully, or you start thinking about ways or work that you can do that will help in the context of research within South Africa, which I think is what is pushing my interest with trying to find. So I did GIS and remote sensing. So what I'm currently working on now is trying to maximize the information that we can get from satellite data because there's just so much and most of it is open source. So how do we relate what data we get from the satellites to what is on the ground? And they provide much more coverage. So initially, when you see people doing that kind of research, you might think, maybe it's not for me. But then when you consider the context of where you are and what your research might mean for the space that you're within, then you start thinking, okay, maybe I can tackle this and really contribute, not just theoretically, but to really have work that drives some decision. So yeah, I hope that answers you.
Yeah, that was a really nice question and really, really interesting answers. I am aware that one of the things that we really do actively try and do with Habitable Planet is bring that African and South African context to a lot of the work. It's great to hear that that's coming through really well, and I'm surprised actually that it's that unique. I would have thought that that would be something that you would get all over the place. So it's great to hear that that's something that we're doing well. It's Mankele again. Tandeka, right? I think was the name. Go ahead. Was it Tandeka?
Yes, it's Tandeka. So my question is for you, Dr. Carl. What was your initial field of study like before you became like the doctor and stuff?
Oh, sure. So we were just sort of touching on it earlier with the fact that my talk was the water talk in the first Habitable Planet. My undergraduate, I majored in chemistry. And then for honors, I did analytical chemistry. For masters, I did industrial chemistry. I was sent to work in a steelworks. It was terrible. Don't go work in a steelworks is absolutely my advice. I mean, going and working in a steelworks involved spending a lot of your life underground. There was a solar eclipse. I was in England, so I think you all know I'm originally British. At Masters, I was still in the UK. There was a solar eclipse. It's the only one that I could possibly have seen in my lifetime, and I didn't see it because I was underground in a steelworks, and they didn't let us come out and see it. And yeah, so I kind of felt like I was missing out on a lot, just being 9 hours a day in darkness and steel. But I mean, in other ways, it was really exciting. I digress a bit, but it's quite a nice story that, making steel, certainly it's quite surreal is the answer. You get these ladles of molten metal, 200 tons of molten metal. So you think a big car is 1 ton, 200 cars worth of molten metal, and someone has to pull the cork out the bottom. And I got to do that job. And you can imagine you get these big tongs and you have to wear a molten metal suit and just pull the cork out, and then molten metal starts flowing out. So there's exciting bits to it, but ultimately I decided it wasn't for me. So I took a PhD almost completely the opposite in marine and atmospheric chemistry. And so my PhD was looking at the chemistry of the surface ocean and how it interacts with the atmosphere, and involved going on ships and making measurements all around the world. So I arrived to Cape Town by sea. I do not recommend steelwork so much. I totally recommend arriving to Cape Town by sea. It is the most incredible experience. We all came up on deck at like sunrise because we knew we were getting close, and then just to see Table Mountain coming out of the mist at sunrise was just an incredible experience. And I stood there on deck, like my first experience, and thought, yep, I'm going to go stay there. And so then took a postdoc at UCT a couple of years later, still looking at chemistry, and a little bit similar to Noxolo's work. I was looking at using satellite data to try and predict what was happening in the chemistry of the surface ocean. So that's a bit about me, and then initiated the Habitable Planet program whilst I was at UCT. Tiani, you're up again. And I hope that answered your question, Tandeka. You're welcome to throw up if you have a follow-up.
Yes, I mean, impressive, hey? Very impressive.
Very.
Thank you. Tiani, go ahead.
What's aside from it works, what's the story behind the story structure that we use to learn throughout the course? Because I find it sort of interesting. So what's the story behind the story of the learning?
What's the story behind? Ooh, somebody's gone noisy. It's not Lola. It's there. Hang on. Got it. Cool. The story how did we come to the Habitable Planet curriculum? You mean the hierarchy of models, basically?
Yep.
Okay. So Great. That sort of follows on quite nicely from my last answer. Yeah, that's quite a nice little follow-up. That I ended up at UCT working on the satellite data, doing a postdoc there for a few years. And in the office next door to me, there turned out to be an incredibly famous climate scientist. His name is Professor George Philander. We learnt in Oceans, he was mentioned in the Oceans talk, actually. Pusaletso brings him up because in the Oceans talk, we learn about El Nino, and the opposite of El Nino is La Nina. George was the first person to name it La Nina. He studied El Nino. He was one of the first scientists to properly study it, and he named the opposite. But because I came from chemistry, I had absolutely no idea that he was a famous scientist. He was just the old guy in the office next door to me. And he and I developed Habitable Planet together after one day he just sort of wandered into my office and talked to me for a long time about science and South Africa and how we needed more young people involved in science, but that until climate change, we were sending the wrong message. And eventually I realized he wanted my help. But principally, George has a book out about climate change. It's quite old now. I think it was written in the late 90s, early 2000s, called Is the Temperature Rising? And in his book, Is the Temperature Rising? He starts to examine that question by breaking down the why the planet is the right temperature into this series of models. From the not too hot model is the first one he introduces. So George was the one who had the idea for this as a way to bring help people understand climate change. His book just has the first 4 talks to Circulating Oceans. So his book started that, and then he and I, along with some other people at UCT, and then just along with time, the Habitable Planet course has expanded out. So the first workshop was really based on his book and those first 4 with some little augmentations, and then we've slowly populated it forward all the way through to the end, which you guys don't know about yet, but from beginning to the end of the Habitable Planet story. So yeah, that's how that came about. I hope that's a good answer. Again, please do throw the hand up if you want. Okay, or applause. Perfect. We have Promise. Promise, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Promise, as he said. I joined in late, but I wanted to ask, maybe you would have answered that. What's your takeaway skills, or takeaway skills that you got from the HPW course, or takeaway opportunities that you like now got exposed to this through the online course?
Nice one. Great question, Promise. As always, Lola, you're first.
Okay. There's a lot of skills that I got from HPW. From writing my CV, like properly writing a CV, you get that. You get that in one of the one of the classes that you'll be attending, and communicating. You get to actually attend a skills workshop whereby you guys talk about how do you communicate properly. Just because you sent me a text and I didn't respond, that is not communicating. It has to be a kind of situation. And then it also with, I think Nox mentioned it, interpersonal skills. Yeah, it played a huge role in terms of like my relationships, not just like with the people that I work with or my team in the field, but also like my family. So yeah, that is like one of like my top 3 skills that I took away from HPW.
That's really interesting to hear. Did we help you like reconcile with your family? Were you not talking to them and now you are?
Well, I have an aunt. I have this other aunt, but we're cool now. We are very chilled. It was like miscommunication.
That is really interesting, and that's obviously not something that we thought about when putting the course together, but really lovely that that's an unintended side effect of Habitable Planets. Nox, go ahead. What about you?
I think yes, definitely science communication. It's always nice to be able to share like what you do with other people in a way that like they can get, not to be as the word elitist about your studies and what you know. So I think it helps a great deal in like knowing what you know, but also how to communicate it to someone else in a way that also makes it interesting, because sometimes we're very passionate about what we're studying, what we're doing at work, but we can't really relate that passion for the other person to get. So I think it helps a great deal there. But also there's some workshops that we do during the workshop. Or there's some sessions that we have during the workshop that help what, like Lola said, writing, how to address, say, an audience, how to present yourself, which I think helps in the sort of overall researcher or worker or a student. And also, I think it provides, you might not be studying, not all scientists study at systems, but I think the course helps you get sort of an holistic overview of how things work. So you might not specifically use what you got from the course, but it brings a perspective that you might not have considered before in your work, which I think helps, because it's great to always see how your own portion of work fits into the bigger picture. It sort of gives you, like, I think even with the puzzle, if you're doing a puzzle, if you know what it looks like in the end, then it helps you sort of get to that place. And then obviously the trips, you get to see places in South Africa that maybe you might have otherwise not have had the opportunity to. And then you get to meet lots of people, people that you might collaborate with years or even months from now, people that maybe you might be part of an LOC with. I know some of the girls that I met in my workshop, we ended up entering the InterVarsity quiz the following year. So it continues, and there's an element of sustainability that comes with being a Planeteer, which I completely adore.
Yeah, the people is interesting. I don't know if it will surprise you or not, but prior to Habitable Planet, I did generally quite dislike people. I don't count myself as a people person, and yet this is where I find myself, and actually. I was much more into the physical, the hard science, you don't have to deal with people. I just like to deal with my experiments, please. And then to some extent, people became my experiment. And as soon as I started to view them not as people that I'm forced to talk to, but as part of an experiment, can we make this work? How can we help? How can we do this? And then that got more interesting for me. You make an interesting point, and about, well, not an interesting point. You brought up an interesting question. Sorry, Bongo Kushle, I can see you. I'm going to come to you in a second. That you said not all scientists work is Earth system science, and it just occurred to me. What do you think about this? Is that true, or is every science somehow part, because we're all on the Earth? Like, if you're doing any sort of science, doesn't it fit somewhere into the Earth system science story?
It does, Dr. Cole, but well, maybe let me say me. When you are studying something specific, you really have to be intentional about getting out of your bubble so that it makes sense in the grand scheme of things. So I think that's what I was aiming to say. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's good to like get that bigger picture. Yeah, I wonder if there is anything that you couldn't incorporate into it. Because I was sort of thinking, like, I mean, we've had Planeteers, for example. One was and is a HIV researcher and has become quite eminent HIV researcher in the United States. His name's Godfrey. But I mean, you can still think of HIV and the battle against it as part of the human population side of things and as part of the Habitable Planet story. So I could be wrong, but I think it's difficult to think of something that doesn't fall somewhere in the story, if it's science, that is. Okay, Bonga Kushle, go ahead.
I wanted to ask if about the preferences of, or I can say the best interest of the cause. Is it a quantity or quality? Like is it about the number of people? Like as the cause is being spread to people, is it about gaining a low number of people, or just a lot like people who will be quality people, I can say.
In terms of the Habitable Planet course, are we interested in quality or quantity? Is that the question?
Yes. Are you more interested in quantity over quality, or it should be quality over quantity? Like it should be quality over quantity. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I'll have a go at that, but Lola or Nox, if you want to come in after me, I'm very happy for you to have a suggestion. Um, Professor George often uses as an analogy sport when we come to think about the state of science in South Africa. South Africa, as a country, has big problems with things like poverty, inequality, dealing with a problem like climate change. And the government has something called the National Development Plan to overcome poverty and inequality. And the idea is that one of the big ideas of the National Development Plan is that we need to transition to what's called a knowledge economy. That's where instead of selling coal and platinum just the once, we sell ideas. And ideas can be sold again and again and again. They're an infinite resource, right? They're a not finite resource. But to have those ideas, we need science researchers. And who has most of those ideas? They are the quality researchers, right? If you want to put it in your terms, there are PhD and postdocs. They're at the pinnacle here. They're the people that will do that research and bring those ideas that South Africa needs to transition its economy. But your postdocs and PhDs are very, very few and far between. So you could say, do we just want to focus on them? But it's not possible to just get PhDs. And this is where the sports analogy comes in. If you want Bafana to win the World Cup, you can't just take 12 young South Africans and make them play football every day because they'll be the best ones. You need to get every single young South African playing with a football, and then you'll have a base of millions. And from those millions, some of them will get to club level. From those at club level, some will get to the ABSA Premiership. From that, some of them will get to the British Premiership, right? And from that, you'll finally have a team of the 11 best that will win the World Cup for South Africa. Science is exactly the same. If we want to have brilliant PhD and postdoc researchers who come up with those ideas that can help transition to the knowledge economy, we need every young South African to be excited about science. We need every young South African to be learning science at school and enthusiastic to figure out things and excited and engaged. Once we've got that base, then we will have a pyramid structure up to that top. So in terms of Habitable Planet aims, it's about both, right? We want to be able to have the top of that pyramid, but to have the top, we need people engaged at science on all levels. Lola, Nox, do you want to add anything there?
I'm well answered. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Nice. I think we've got through all of the hands. That's quite incredible, but good because I would like to ask both a little bit about your science before we go, but don't let that stop you. If other questions come up, Planeteers, we've still got 10 minutes. This is your chance. Please do raise. So I'm just going to do a couple of quick questions. We've got 5 minutes each on a little bit of science. So Lola, your research is on parasites, particularly ectoparasites. Is that right?
Yeah.
What are they? What's an ectoparasite? Tell us about a little bit about them, right? What role do they play in ecosystems? Why should we care about ectoparasites?
Well, ectoparasites are let me just go back to first year, right? So ectoparasites are parasites, which is like an organism that it can, like, it feeds from you. It just keeps on taking without actually giving you anything. And that is what we learned from school. So what they do is that you find them on animals, and you can also find them on humans. They carry diseases because of they also carry other parasites inside of them. So they'll come, they'll
Sorry. You're saying parasites have
Mhm.
parasites.
Yeah.
Do those parasites have parasites?
No. That would have been wild. And maybe those other parasites might have other parasites of their own. But no, it's not that way. So the parasites that are inside the, what is this, the ectoparasites, they bite and then they transmit. Think about your mosquitoes, right? But in this instance, the mosquito doesn't stay on you like the ectoparasites that I'm working on. So I'm just going to try to use something that we all know, that we all see. So a mosquito bites you, right, feeds from you. So in order to actually stop the blood from clogging and stuff like that, it has the special enzyme in its saliva, which also has the parasites. That's where the other parasites stay, which is like your hemoparasites. Those hemoparasites are literally, they are blood parasites in direct translations. So the minute that they get into your system, they try to reproduce because they'll need to either have two hosts, which is the mosquito. They get into it, they grow, and then they get to us, or what is this, the other big animals. So the minute that they get to them, they start reproducing, and the way they reproduce is that they get into your blood and then they rupture, right? They reproduce, rupture your red blood cells. It's actually quite interesting when it happens, because when you think that it's bad, yeah, it is bad, but when you kind of like look at the holistic view of things, if that happens on an antelope, and there's like a lot of antelopes, those antelopes can actually get suppressed in terms of the numbers that are there. And by actually suppressing that number, you actually have enough resources to actually go around. So as much as ectoparasites are parasites, which are bad, they're also good. So that's like kind of like what my current research is looking at.
Can you, for us, please, just give a definition of what an ectoparasite is in one simple sentence? And what's the other options? How does it differ from the other types of parasites?
It's a parasite that you find on the skin.
An ectoparasite is one found on the skin.
On the skin, yeah, on the skin, in the hair. So what it differs from the other parasite, which is like your endoparasites, they're inside, right? Like your worms, those tapeworms, they're inside. So they are endoparasites. And then you have your hemoparasites, which are found in your bloodstream. So that's how they differ from one another.
My understanding is that everybody will have parasites on or in them right now. Is that correct?
Sure.
What parasites do we have, will the Planeteers have on or in them right now?
Probably tapeworms.
Tapeworms.
Oh.
But won't most
Tapeworms.
people have like be drinking clean water and eating clean food? You'd still have tapeworms.
You can, like, even when you cook, you have to be like you have to be careful, because when you cook your meat, especially pork, they stay on the fat, and then you cook, you fry your food, and then you eat, but it does not entirely kill. Even sushi.
Don't
Sushi.
say bad things about sushi. No one wants to hear
Yeah,
bad
we'll
things
end
about
this
sushi.
chat. Time out.
So they need to be actually how they store the food. It needs to be in a specific way. So if ever, let's say they bring in the fish and they don't freeze it, and you just go from fresh to eating, you get those parasites, and it can get bad, really bad.
Do you? So, I mean, you say we all have worms. Is it a problem? Should we go out and get deworming tomorrow, or do we just live with them fine enough?
No, for now, I could say from literature that I've read, their aim is not to kill you, right? That's never their aim. Because the minute Dr. Cole goes out, they also go out because they don't have a food source anymore. So not entirely. You just know that you have pets inside of you and you're taking care of them by eating. So yeah.
I like the pets inside of you analogy. I mean, one last thing. I saw an article arguing that there is no such thing as a parasite. That if you look into any two organisms' relationship hard enough, you'll always find some element of symbiosis in that relationship. Is that something you'd agree with?
To an aspect, yes, because that particular parasite actually helps another organism. It might not help you directly, the host, but it might help another. But an example of this is that there's like this other worm, it's called a hairpin worm. So it gets on crickets, right? For the cricket, it might be bad. But the minute that it goes into the water, because it manipulates them into actually doing things that they wouldn't do, they get in the water. By doing that, they feed fish. They become a food source for fish, therefore, like helping the food web in such a way. So it might not help that one organism directly, but it might help a broader, like, grand scheme of things.
Interesting. Bongo Kusha, you have a follow-up question.
I want to comment. What if the research was made that they are parasite? It was made they were the research was made that they can't benefit. They can't benefit like there is no parasite that can benefit. There is no organism that can benefit on them. So they are the parasite. Maybe the research was made that they do not benefit any animal. I'm just making an yeah.
I would disagree because with what I've been like I'm currently writing, so I've been literally like going through literature, and you see that if it doesn't benefit that one, let's say that one organism, that host, fine, but it can benefit another. By making that host sick, it makes it easier for other predators to eat. So it can benefit another, even though it does not benefit that one. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Do you know the story of? Oh, sorry, Bongo Kusha. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you know the story of the birds that they eat the animals on livestock? What are they called? Oxbirds?
Oxpecker, if I'm not
Oxpecker,
mistaken.
yeah. Have you seen that they actually parasite off the livestock?
Yes, they do eat the ticks that are
No,
on them.
but they've also started eating the blood of the livestock. So originally they started eating the ticks, but then realized that because they're eating the ticks, they're eating the blood as well, right? Because the ticks have just eaten the blood and they've started just pecking. So they used to think that it was a symbiotic relationship, but actually they're parasitic. They actually have started eating the blood, which is quite an interesting twist.
Okay.
No, carry on.
So what if when they remove that tick and stuff like that, there is an infection, and when they peck, they're actually removing that infections that are on that side. What if it's that way?
It could be, but the bottom line is they're not as benevolent as we thought. They're actually little vampires. They're there to get the blood as well.
Man, that's very interesting.
Yeah, we've got 2 minutes left as we started 2 minutes late. Nox, it's a really hard act to follow. We've just learned that we've got pets inside us, and we've had vampire birds. Can you just tell us something about your GIS work? Why is looking at everything from space going to make it more interesting for us?
From space.
Well, okay, yes.
Yeah.
Or through the lens of your work. Why? Just tell us a little bit about what's exciting about it.
I think the fact that our eyes can only carry us so far. Even for those of us who have 4 of them, we can only see so much. So we need the help to look beyond what we can see with our immediate eyes at the same time. So in my work, it just helps because we have so many land holdings across even the province. So we need to monitor what's on the ground. In our case, like the health of what we have on the ground, so that if we monitor what's on the ground, then we can then have actionable insights. So our trees, in my case, are they healthy? Are they still where they are, or has someone come and chopped them off without us noticing? So it's just having that overview of what you own and how to take better care of it. And with that then comes other environmental conditions, such as your temperature, your precipitation, wind patterns, and all that feeds into having healthy species on the ground. I hope that makes
Yes,
sense.
it's offering another perspective that you wouldn't normally get.
Yeah.
Which is a great way to finish off, as that's exactly what we try and do with all of the Habitable Planet initiatives. So we are out of time. I'd like to offer a massive thank you to our fabulous panel today. A big thank you to Lola. Give us a wave, Lola. Thank you. And a big thank you to Noxolo. You guys have been fabulous. It's been really great chatting to you and offering a bit of a different perspective. And a big thank you to all of the Planeteers for your questions. We got some great questions today. Really love them. Really interesting discussion. Hope to see you next time. Have a good late afternoon and evening, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you, Dr. Carl.
Goodbye.
Thanks. Cheers.
Bye.